So it's now Monday, the 18th of July, right? 14:05. So it's 2:05 on Monday, the 18th of July, and it says on this petition now that it says there, right in the middle of the screen with the Liberal Democrats logo, it says that Alison Munro, who is one of the local councillors here, right? And it's telling me on this petition that she signed 3 hours ago, right? So that's 2 o'clock, 2:05, 1:05, 12:05, 11:05, 12:05, 1. So if that's correct, if she signed this petition at 11:05 today, which I posted some replies on her Facebook late last night, so it would have drawn attention to the petition. So if she signed 3 hours ago, and this is to change.org, right, who are making up excuse after excuse after excuse, right, about the website, why is it that the signature count is only 1,485 when it was 1,485 all day yesterday? Prior to yesterday, it had been collecting quite a lot of signatures because I've paid someone to ask people to sign it, right? And they're not stopping asking people until it gets to 3,500 because that is the deal. The deal is they're going to promote it on Facebook and Quora and other websites, Instagram, basically multiple platforms in groups and asking individuals and just sharing it, right? They are promoting it until it gets to 3,500. And it should have done that weeks ago. It should have done it weeks ago, right? So there's something not right with this website. And it's not just this petition that I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about other petitions which have been experiencing the same problem, which people might not be aware of. I'm definitely aware of it now. Now, if I go to my dashboard, right, it tells me, right, it's not frozen. There's 1,485 supporters. And there was 1,485 supporters all day on Sunday because I kept checking it all day, right? Now, it's been shared 1,817 times, which has been shared more than how many people have signed. Now, the reason why it's been shared more is because the person that I've asked to promote it has been using the share button quite a lot. Like, not just once, they've been sharing it a lot of times. So that's why the share count is up. But they're not fabricating signatures and making accounts up and just signing it with anybody because they've got to get, the whole point is they've got to get organic signatures, real people to sign, right? So it says that what's really concerning is that it's had 20,709 views, which is quite a lot. And yesterday, it only had about 20,300. So there's been another 400 or 500 viewed it, which is quite a lot, since yesterday. So what I'm concerned about is Alison Munro definitely has signed it only 3 hours ago, right? And she's a councillor who's acting with us, so why is it not gone to 1,486? So what Change.org is saying is this when we complain to them. And Change.org are trying to claim that I'm the only person who can speak to them about the petition, which is not true. if you go into B&Q or into Argos or into McDonald's, right, and the door is not working, right, if you try and go into McDonald's and the door isn't working, right, or if there's a problem with the seat inside or the toilets, or if there's a problem in B&Q in the car park with the trolley station or anything, right, you've got the right to complain to B&Q. You don't have to be, right, if you buy a bag of bolts, you don't have to be the person who bought the bag of bolts to complain to B&Q about the functionality of the shop or any aspect of the functionality of the shop. If the door's not working, opening and closing properly, if the car park's got an issue, or if, anything wrong with B&Q, any person has the right to complain to it. You don't have to be the person who's bought a bag of bolts. You only need to have to be the person who's bought a bag of bolts, right, if you are the person who bought the bag of bolts. But if you are noticing that all of the bolts inside, someone's chucked them all over the floor and they're not on the shelves, or the prices don't correlate properly in the shop, or any other reason, this is what Change.org don't understand. Change.org are trying to get around not speaking to other people who are finding serious critical errors with their website, right? Unless they're the person who signed it or they're the person who's running the petition. Which, how you help other people when you're noticing problems. If people can't walk through the door in B&Q because the electric door's broken and it's closed shut, right? Anyone who wishes to go to that shop and use the shop can complain about the door. And this is what Change.org need to understand. Now, they're currently using a couple of excuses like, the first excuse is that people have not been verifying their email address. So there's been loads of people signing, but they haven't completed the process. I never have to ever verify email on Change.org because I'm always logged in and I'm a member of the site. So whenever I go there to sign a petition, I just click on the button and it automatically adds my signature. I don't get emails. It's not actually like the Parliament website where you've got to verify email every time if you're a member and if you're logged in, because you're already logged in, right? That's how it's set up. Now, the other issue that Change.org are claiming, they're claiming, that people remove signatures. Well, I've been doing petitions for quite a long time. I've run several petitions and I've never experienced anyone removing the signature or a significant drop. And the person who's been promoting it says that there have been serious drops in signatures, like 10s, 20 or 100s being lost. People, generally, statistically, you decide whether you're going to sign it before you sign, right? Now, most people read it, and if they support it, they sign it. It's unusual to bother going back, taking it off at a later date, because people aren't even... It's hard enough to get them to have time to look at it in the first place to sign it. So, and petitions just don't lose huge numbers of signatures. It's just not normal. So when there's a lot being lost or taken off, it's very unusual. Now, I don't know whether the server takes time to update or whether it can only take so many signatures at a time and then it has to wait. That's what Change.org know. But how can the Tony Blair petition get up to so many million in such a short time if that's the case? If the Change.org site can only process so many signatures at once, how is it that the Tony Blair petition can get up to, 1.5 million or whatever in such a short time of months if it can't process them? So it must be able to process large amounts of signatures. So there's something not quite right. Now, I think that the views are accurate. 20,000, because we've been promoting it to a lot of people. I've been promoting it on a lot of Facebook groups. Some of them have like 20,000 members anyway. And then this other person has been promoting it extensively all over Quora and many, many Facebook groups relentlessly. Now, I know a guy who he's doing a Parliament website petition, and he's got 11,000 signatures. And I asked him how he got them, and he said he was just asking around Facebook groups. And I said, how long did it take you? And he said, I've been doing it for 3 or 4 months, non-stop, every day, without, stop. He's literally spent 4 months, 3 to 4 months solid, going around as many Facebook groups as he can, asking people, right? And it's taken him about 3 or 4 months to get 11,000, right? Now, in the past, I worked on another petition for about 2 weeks. It was about 14 days, right? And I was posting it in groups, but I kept going back to the group and replying and asking people. And I got 3,000 signatures, which took me about 14 days. So if he got 11,000 in about 3 months, that is quite similar rate of progress to me. So this should be easily at 3,000, and I think it should be at more. So Alison Monroe signed, right? Now, it wouldn't have said she'd signed if she hadn't completed the sign-up process or whatever process that is. If you need to verify an email for the sign-up to be completed, why would it say someone had signed? It wouldn't. Now, I also seriously doubt she'd removed a signature, because councillors don't sign petitions and then remove the signature. I can tell you that for sure. So if they don't want to support it, they won't sign it, right? So, unless there's something wrong with the time on this, but the last signatures that I saw was John Finlay, Taylor Crawland, Charles Onuova, right? These guys, Harry Ritchie, 2 days ago, 1 day ago, right? So, Alison has signed today, 3 hours ago. Why is it only on 1,485 signatures that it was at all day yesterday? And I've got the screenshots to prove it. Now, if Change.org are running a globally recognised, seriously important website, which is in connection with governments and councils, and people are using it for serious matters, like freeing war prisoners and God knows what else, why is the website not adding signatures on? Now, if they are claiming that they are checking their records and system, if they can't tell who's visited the website and who signed it, then they've got a serious problem. Now, they should know, Change.org should know, right, the IP addresses of all 20,709 people who have viewed this website, this petition on their website. Not only should they know the IP addresses of all 20,709, they should know all email addresses that are waiting to be added, which have not yet been verified, and all the ones that have, and they should also know exactly the names of the people who remove signatures with a full list of them. And they should know anyone who has pressed the button to complete the sign-up process should be recorded, and they should be able to compare that with the ones that actually are logged on there and signed. There should be some behind-the-scenes recording. If not, I just don't think this website is up to it in functionality. I don't think this website is up to it in reliability. And I don't think this website is up to it with security. Now, I've tried to start petitions on the Kirklees Council website, but I never ever get them approved. They always seem to want to faff about and check them, and they don't even speak to me anymore, the Kirklees. So I don't know whether someone's obstructing communication with it or it's shut down. There are petitions on there that are still running. They don't seem to want to publish anything. And this is the problem with Parliament. But petitioning may be a complete waste of time now to government if Boris is saying that, well, Boris is gone now, but if the Tories are saying that if they don't want to debate a petition, they won't bother debating it. Which is, what's the point in, why would you use money to campaign and promote? It would be like saying the Lib Democrats are running to be elected. It would be like saying, basically, right, you know, Mark Smith, the Tory candidate for Dewsbury Ward in Parliament, is running a Conservative campaign, and the Conservatives have paid him £100,000 sponsorship money to promote it on YouTube, Facebook ads, Google ads, and banners, and promo material all around the Dewsbury and Skelmanthorpe, right? And then it would be like saying, right, so we've got Mark Smith, and we've got, whoever, other candidates for Lib Dems and Labour, right? And then when it comes to election day, it would be like saying, all right, well, we don't have to count the tickets. We'd have to count the votes. It would be like giving out leaflets to all the voters, the electors, to vote, and then it would be like saying, oh, well, we don't have to count them. We don't have to count them now. We don't have to count any of these vote cards at all. You know, that's essentially what Boris is saying. And it wasn't the case when Tony Blair was in government. And whenever the technology's improved so people have got a better chance of getting something done, then the Tories always seem to claim the change in the rules so they don't have to do anything or look at something. Now, petitioning is it's just bringing a case to the government. A complaint is a petition by one person. Through the normal council complaints, it's still a petition, a complaint by one person. You can have 5 people complaining about the same thing if they sign it. So I don't know how Boris and the Tories can say you can't complain about any MPs in a petition. So what is the local council or government complaints process whereby which you can complain about any person or the behaviour? You can complain to the council about someone, I can tell you that for sure, right? But you got to know what you're doing when you're complaining to the council. You're still petitioning, because you're just bringing a complaint case, right? You're saying other people cannot give evidence in that. If multiple people complain to a council, if you complain to the council and other people were present, right, and they want to also write to them about that complaint or sign it, that's what it is, right? Now, the higher you go up through government, the more and more you get closer to Parliament, and ultimately it's supposed to be the Lords. Now, Gordon Brown, another trick they've done is Gordon Brown has claimed that they've removed the Appellate Jurisdiction Act, so the Supreme Court hears cases, not the Lords, at the highest level, which is also a load of rubbish, because the entire basis of bringing a case to Parliament is not fundamentally rested on the Appellate Jurisdiction Act. The right to petition creates and gives the right to bring a case to Parliament and the Lords. The Appellate Jurisdiction Act is just a bunch of procedure rules. You can't so easily remove the right to bring a case. It's like bringing a criminal case. You cannot remove or annul the entire process of going to court by removing the Magistrates Court Act, because then you've got the criminal procedure rules. You can't remove the right to bring a criminal case by removing the criminal procedure rules only, because you've got the Magistrates Court Act. What's the point in it, right? What you've got is the entire process and basis is consisting of various different procedures which support an underlying right, which with governments and councils is the right to petition the governments and councils, right? Because that's what it is, bringing a case. What you've got is people like Boris Johnson and Gordon Brown who don't really know what they are doing. They haven't really got a clue what they're doing. And they're being advised by all these supposed experts, legal advisors, Ministry of Justice, whatever, usually when a situation happens in current affairs, they try to respond to it and they try to get out of it or bend the rules because they don't like what's happening, what's unfolding, like Extinction Rebellion kicking off, right? And what they're doing is they don't like what's happening and they don't want certain people to do certain things, so they attempt to stop them. And this is where they have critical failures, because the rights of England, the fundamental basis of English law and right, long established, is built upon brick upon brick upon brick of serious procedure, tradition and rule that has been solidified and concreted over generations. And one prat like Boris Johnson trying to pull a brick out of the wall or picket it, right, because he doesn't like the way it's currently going, yet it's been built up 10 feet high, right, or 40 metres high. It's a feeble attempt to break something that is not working his way at the moment, right? This is the problem with inexperienced, immature and misled Parliament members who are, they don't really have a clue what they're playing at. Now, and this is a problem with, this is a problem with the government in general. It's like why I've got the driving licence from 1991 there on the edge of the desk, and printed out on the back of that licence, it says that a 3.5 tonne vehicle is not an heavy vehicle, right? It's a car. And that's why when I complained to the DVLA chief executive and showed her that, she did not disagree with me, but they wouldn't do anything about it because they've been messing and changing things and making things up as they go along, which is wrong and doesn't fit to what the truth is, because they're just trying to change things that you can't logically change. So what they do is they have a disassociation with logic and reason, because by disassociating with logic and reason, it enables them to do things that you can't usually do, which is like if you disassociated with the laws of physics, you could float. But you can't disassociate with the laws of physics because we don't float. So what the Tories do is there's one thing that enables them to disassociate with the fact and truth, which is lie. And they're very good at lying and blag. And it's a lot easier to disassociate and break the laws of truth and fact than it is to break the laws of physics. Because breaking the laws of physics and floating requires a helicopter, a very technical machine. Breaking the laws of fact and truth and reason and logic only requires a Tory blag, bluff and lie. Which is why Boris is stepping down, because he has been lying about the Partygate incidents, and they have been lying about other things, like when Mumsnet challenged him, and that's why he's not Prime Minister anymore. And it's not the only thing he's been lying about. This is the problem with the Tories, and why the entire country is now calling them corrupt, because they've got a habit of disassociating with facts, reason and logic, and not even apologising and correcting themselves when they're later found to be wrong. Which is like, I made a video the other day and I said that it was 2020, not 2022, but I corrected it on the writing. I put it to 2022. So when I realised that I'd said 2020, and to be honest, I'm sure that I said 2022 because I can remember trying to say 2022 and not 2020. So, but it's recorded on video, so I can't really say that I didn't say it when it's recorded on video unless someone hacked it and changed my voice on it, which is possible, but, that's another matter. So, you can petition about a lot of things the government are trying to now claim that you can't, and they're actually telling local councils, they're giving directions to local councils to say, do this or do that, when, central government is not correct. And this is why we've got to challenge them, and most people can't challenge them because you have to have a lot of money to take them to court, or you have to get a lot of people to sign a petition to make them do it, and then they're saying that they don't have to debate the petition. So ultimately, what can you do? So now I'm getting, I'm concerned about this, really. Should we have, 15, 20,000 signatures on this? If the local council signed it, and it's even saying they've signed it, I won't mind, but, it could quite easily not even tell me that she'd signed it on here. It might not put a name on there, and it might not say that she signed 3 hours ago. But it did say that she signed 3 hours ago, and it has got a name on it. But the number has not been added to the tally because it's still at 1,485. It's not gone up to 1,486, which is odd. So Change.org, when they've actually got the councillors signing things, who definitely have signed it, we've got issues. But I'm not just concerned about this petition, I'm concerned about other petitions people have been doing, particularly when they've been opposing building and development and things like that. How is it that Tony Blair's petition has got so many signatures, right? How has it got so many signatures? It's true that the more casual the petition and the more comedy value it is, like, Tony Blair's knighthood or ban Trump from England, people are less resistant to signing it because it's more of a bit of a laugh and a joke, and there's no, when a petition actually is quite important and serious, then it does get more controversial, and then you get a more polarised group of people from each side, like, those for and those against. But out of the people who will sign and support it, those signatures should be being added. But what's happening with Nick Clegg with Facebook, all these filters now, we're starting to question whether people are seeing the petitions. When you actually messenger people or tag them or ask them individually, I actually get quite a lot of success when I ask a person. It's almost like in the street, if you stand in the bus station and put a poster up saying, will you go to the fair or whatever, people might walk past it and not go. They might not just read it and go. But if you actually had a person stood there asking people, then, they might get more people interested in going. It's called breaking the ice because it's almost like walking up to someone in town and asking them, excuse me, do you know what the time is? You're breaking the ice. That's the thing with England. You can't just... people don't usually just jump on things, if you put some up, But then if you go out of your way to ask them, it's breaking the ice, and then then they sort of usually respond. They can either respond and say no or yes, and usually they do it. So that's the thing. But where's this? Why is it not gone at 86? So I'm going to put this on the petition and I'm going to send it to change.org, and I don't want to have to keep relaying between emails. I'm kind of sick of speaking to them in emails. They need to fix it because the previews for the petition updates, when you click on expand the updates and scroll down it, it was not only showing all the pictures, but it was showing the YouTube video previews in a box. So you could see what videos there were on there. And then you clicked on it and it went to the actual individual update. Something happened when the video pictures are not showing on there now, right? And I don't think Change.org removed them, because when I asked them about it, they never said anything about removing it. And they still not put them back again. Now, since then, I noticed that Change.org have been updating their website. They update the website on 2 different occasions when it was down for like so many hours. The website was down for so many hours about a month ago, and then it was down for so many hours a couple of weeks ago. So they've been doing technical updates to the website, but they still haven't put the YouTube previews back on the updates menu list that drops down, which is critically important. If someone's just scrolling through it, looking for something interesting in the updates, you're much more likely to go look at an update and be interested in it and read it if you see that it's got a YouTube video on it and the picture of the YouTube video. So Change.org need to put that back as well, because you're losing interest. People aren't going to be as interested to read and look at the evidence in the updates that I put. So, I think that there is some malicious intervention going on with petitions, and not just this one, other ones. I think the government have got a group or similar to the Anonymous movement, but not the Anonymous movement. I think the Tory affiliated parties, particularly when they're putting millions into campaigns, and they've got sponsorship from Balfour Beatty and all these contractors and that who are doing jobs for them, and then they're making money out of it, and BlackRock and Vanguard investors are making profit out of it. Government contractors and jobs, which is guaranteed jobs over and over again. Department of Transport sending guys out to potter up and down the motorway, cones out, and they haven't actually really done anything all day. On permanently doing that all the time, it ticks over a guaranteed income all day for the contractor company, whether it's Care or whatever, and that's going to translate to certain amount of hundreds of thousands of pounds on a constant flow if they're constantly sending out highways guys to block off lane 3 of the motorway, pottering around when you drive up and down there, and they're not doing it. And then the next thing, they take it away, and you're like, they just had 8 to 20 guys on the motorway blocking half of it down, inconvenience everyone, and they didn't actually do anything. And then they're doing this on a daily basis, and with the wages and then the amount of profit that the contractors charge on it, it adds up to, once you get the contract on the government, right, once you secure that contract, Care, no relation to Keir Starmer, other than, You Know My Name, right, and it's not the Chris Cornell soundtrack off James Bond, You Know My Name, when Chris Cornell commits suicide at the end. It's You Know My Name, Keir Starmer, Sir Keir Starmer, I'm the leader of the, Labour Party. It's that, You Know My Name, but it's not my company, but You Know My Name, Keir, right? So, Keir, by getting the highways contract, for both contracts for, Shropshire Council and for central government, are guaranteed a pottering around income flow of X hundreds of £1,000s a month or a week or whatever, or X £1 million a year, simply by getting the contract and pottering around when they're not fixing important things like the manhole cover across the road, which is driving me insane and making a rattling noise when they still haven't been to fix it. But they're pottering around doing other strange, unusual work that doesn't seem to actually do anything or have a purpose other than inconvenience people, or, strategically block certain roads off that people can't use. And now they want everyone to drive past, Donald Fisher's house, while his garden's in a mess so they can jeer at it, or whatever. Strategic movements and directions, almost like, some sort of little, board game, somebody's doing a campaign against the Tory party outside, 357 Bradford Road. So, there's some roadworks appeared there now. What coincidence? And now the traffic's been diverted past it, and they won't see all the, promotion stuff like that. Tick over money. Popping around money. That's what I'm concerned about, and I'm concerned that the people affiliated with, particularly the Tory party, have got their own version of Anonymous. It might not be an official government department that's got a building or acknowledged staff, might just be friends of friends of friends, and they are acting on behalf of their team in opposition to people who are doing stuff that the Tory party or the contractors or whoever doesn't really want people to succeed in, like getting 20,000 signatures on this petition, for example, and making it very difficult to even get to 3,000 when it should have got there very easily, not like wading through quicksand, right? Yet, when there are other entertaining comedy things that they're not that bothered about, like Tony Blair's Knighthood, they're allowed to get up to 1.5 million, but then suddenly the signatures stop mysteriously. It's like 0 to 60 in fact, this card does 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, right? So 0 to 60 in 3 seconds is fast, so no signatures to 1.5 million, in a week or a month. And then it stops. Why is that? Yeah, if it had got to 3 million, then we could have had a referendum on, Tony Blair's knighthood, because it's 5% of the population of England signed. But they don't want it to get to there, so it mysteriously stops. There's something unusual going on. It wouldn't suddenly stop at that number of signatures, and then just continue at a very, very slow rate. Why would it go up so fast and stop there? Like when the Trump petition, got to 1.8 million or whatever, So this is the thing, but to prove it is very difficult, because I don't think anyone has proved it yet. But people are starting to suspect strange things are going on when buses mysteriously have these strange, sinister characters on them and getting in D1 darts when we've already got issues with the letter D on the site that they drive past, which is where the tram station went out to when that bus depot first started. Like, for example, Transdev, when it was a tram station, and then it happens with Earl Dartmouth, who owns the land around there, and weird things, that don't feel right, Like when I got my, I know that I drew my map, and when I drew my map, it ended up having some faces in it just because that's what happens. There's another map here that doesn't, and that map drawer, after he'd drawn the map, he drew like a sun on the map with a face, but he did that to symbolise the fact that the rest of the map itself hasn't actually got any faces on it, because he made the effort not to put them in it. Another map someone drew me has got another face in it, but I told him that my map's got a face in it, and I didn't want to have that in there. And he done one, and then he's got one in there as well. Now, some people say that these things are sort of coincidence or subconscious or whatever. It's like, I know that I've got a little Yoda. It's like a little soft toy Yoda, a little squidgy toy Yoda hung up at the side here on the wall, and that's probably affected why I've got that Yoda sort of type looking character in my map subconsciously, but I didn't go out of the way to do it. But saying that, there are instances when I have done things or put things in consciously, right? So when you're questioning people of whether they did it themselves subconsciously or whether it was intentional, that's the thing. That's what you got to find out. That's the police's entire purpose of the police, usually, is to find out whether someone did something with intent or whether it was, an accident, or subconscious. And people can still get prosecuted when they did it subconsciously, right? So, when it comes to these petitions, is someone intervening or not? And usually with something like this, you don't, either they are or they aren't. You don't just happen to subconsciously, I just hacked into the Change.org site subconsciously. I didn't really, know what I was doing. I was just playing around with it, and then took some signatures off people's petitions. You don't subconsciously hack into somewhere. You definitely make a conscious decision to do that. So, there is, and I guess it's the same with the roadworks potting around, yeah? Is it subconscious or is there some intent in it? This is the thing. This is the thing that you've got to prove. If the Tory party, did they just subconsciously, say they're not going to debate any petitions anymore when, can they even do that? Well, they had the will to do that because they didn't really want to have to debate certain petitions. So, but they made a conscious effort to say that, we're not going to do it. They didn't subconsciously say, we're not going to do it. That was a subconscious motivation that translated into an actual act of saying, no, we're not going to debate the petitions. When, what's the point in doing them? What's the point in having a petition committee if they'd have to debate any of them? It evades the point, and why would anyone spend their own money on promoting and, you know, getting sponsorship or even do promo material like point of sales in shops stuff, you know, or whatever they're doing, or even use their own time, if it was going to be futile, if you know, if it's blockable, it's ridiculous. You wouldn't run a election campaign to be on the council or to be an MP if the government could say, oh, we're not going to count them, because that's not the procedure or purpose of getting the votes. You get the votes to count them to elect a new member. You don't get the votes and count them to not elect a new member. It's not the purpose of the procedure. So you don't go around collecting signatures on a cause to not get it debated, because it evades the point. It's a break in logic. It's the break in logic. Now, the government might say, oh, well, it's political, you know, we might act in other ways, but we don't want to debate it. You know, we don't want to confront it head on. Well, maybe politics is not the thing for them to be in. You know, well, that's not the way we do it. We do it a different way. You know, we do it we ducking and diving way, in a non-direct way. Well, that's because they don't like, you know, they don't really like politics. They don't like facing issues. Well, everyone might start kicking off. Well, they seem to kick off no matter what the Tories do. No matter what the Tories do, people are happy and kicking off. Because that's what opposition is. It's the very existence of the Labour Party is to oppose the Tories. Oh my God, we've got an opposition. What the Tories are saying is, well, we don't like strong opposition that's going to beat us, and we don't like, opposition, that everyone's going to get very, very, very angry and upset about and cause loads of national issues, which basically means, we're not competent enough to do the job. And, we're not good enough to do the job, and if anyone's better than us, we also aren't very good losers, This is where we're at with it, So, Change.org need to make some serious security updates and back-checking, logging of visitors and actions that visitors do. And even then, someone might be hacking it. But it's recorded that Alison has signed this petition 3 hours ago. That's been recorded by the site for sure. So why the number hasn't added on to 1486 is the question. But what changed? But now I've realised what Change.org can do is, if Alison's name is added here, recent supporters, then it has been counted, surely. Because it says Alison signed, Jordan Finlay signed, Taylor Corlin signed, and Charles signed. So where is that information being stored? And this is the information that's got all account of who signed. Because Alison has been counted by her name being there in the supporters. So I know that it's 1,486 because it tells me she signed and it was 1,485 yesterday. So by correlating the data, I know how many people have signed, right? It's just not giving the correct number. So therefore, Change.org can and should go through the data on who's signed, which they've got because it's got it here. It says it there, recent supporters. And they should count every single name and see if there is the same number of names as how many numbers there are on the tally. And if there aren't that many numbers on the tally, if there are more supporters, then Change.org seriously needs to update the number so it's correct to the people. Now, the only downside of that is these recent supporters, it might only be tallying more recent people on here and not the full list that goes right back to the start of it. It might only save, the last so many people. like to this Christian Nelson. But if you designed a website like that, it would be ridiculous, because if it was only memorising the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 people that have signed, what's the point in that? Well, it tells you the last 19 people that have signed. That's interesting and decent, you know. When new people sign, you can see some new people have signed. But when it comes to site faults and site errors, it will be critical, I won't say useful, it will be critically important to have the entire list of names and supporters available so you can count and check them, how many there are, with the tally to make sure it's tallied up correct. And we can tally it up now, because I am tallying it up now and I am seeing that Alison signed it 3 hours ago. Therefore, it hasn't added the number. And she hadn't removed the signature, and she didn't need to verify email because it wouldn't have told me she'd signed it. Surely at the moment of completion, so someone has officially signed, is when if they verify email, if they have to, if they're not already logged in, right? So it doesn't make sense. So change.org, if change.org, right, don't have the entire list of supporters' names, right, then I think the site is inadequate, because they're not capable of correcting errors when you come across errors. Now, they change.org, we've got an error here where a number has not been added. It doesn't say 1486. So we've got a site error. Now, you don't have to be me to complain about that. Alison can complain about it, right? Because she signed it and it hadn't added a number. But also, anyone who walks into B&Q who says there's a box of nails on the floor and they're not on the shelf can complain to B&Q staff that they were walking around the shop and they noticed that a box of nails are on the floor and they're not on the shelf, right? So anyone looking at this petition who came yesterday when it was 1485 and then came back today, anyone who uses the site and notices that, oh, look, Alison Monroe signed this petition since yesterday, why isn't it gone up to 186, can complain to change.org that their site is not working and has got critical errors, right? Just like anyone can walk into B&Q and say there's a box of nails on the floor, someone hadn't put it on the shelf properly or it fell off, right? That's what a complaint is, and the right to complain. Now, change.org only need to speak to me about my petition when I complain. Now, only I can complain about things that I know about. But other people can complain about things that they've done or they know about when they see it. Now, anyone who's been following this petition, anyone who's been following it can see that Alison Monroe signed 3 hours ago and it's not added a signature on if they also visited the site yesterday and had been following it and noticed that it was only at 1,485 yesterday, and they came today as a visitor and are shown, right, you know, that Alison Monroe signed 3 hours ago and it hasn't added their number on to the petition. And they can see that because, right, it also should tell you the recent supporters here. It tells you don't have to be the petition owner to know that. Now, I am the only person usually who knows how many times it's been viewed because I have got the figures on my dashboard. And I am the person who knows how many times it's been shared. But everyone knows, right, that Jordan Finlay signed 1 day ago, and everyone who visited knows that Alison Monroe signed 4 hours ago, right? Because it tells everybody. So if any member of the public who visited yesterday and then any member of the public who visited today and notices a new signature and notices that it hasn't gone to 1486, right? So change.org have to acknowledge that members of the public and general site visitors have got a right to identify errors with petitions and report them and complain about them and converse with Change.org about that error until it's fixed, even if it's not their petition and even if they didn't sign it. Just like they can complain and be in queue if a box of nails fell off a shelf and then the member of staff haven't put it back on again. That's what the problem is with Change.org. They just keep saying, oh, we'd have to talk to you about it, we'd have to talk to you about it, we'd have to talk to you about it. That's the problem, right? So, and it's only showing 2 people here. It's only showing Alison and Jordan. And on mine, it only shows 19 people, around 19 people. Change.org must have the entire list of names, right? And they need to count the full list of names, count them all, and add them up individually. Now we know there's an error, to see if the numbers are the same numbers as 1,485, or if there are more names than 1,485. And if the website's not storing all those names, then it's a very bad website if it only stores the last 20 names, because this website is experiencing errors. And when you're dealing with important political issues, you need to have the ability to correct them and check them, right? So Change.org seriously need to update the website so they're giving themselves the ability to correct petitions that have got errors. And the worst thing about this is that anyone can sponsor this petition. I'm not actually sponsoring it on Change.org because I don't think that you get good value for money on Change.org. I think if you throw 100 quid into it or 50 quid into it, I don't think that it results in a good value for money of signatures, people signing it, unless they're not getting added through that. I'm actually paying for promotion through Facebook and Quora and online platform promotion, right? Which I think is a lot better value for money because you're paying someone to work for you until you reach the agreed figure, which says, I'll keep promoting it until it reaches a certain number. And if that amount of price that you're paying is a better deal than just throwing money into Change.org's site, you're getting more, you're getting a better result for the same amount of money, right? Now, if Change.org got the site set up, for some reason, doing it on purpose to not add signatures, because they want people to put money into their website and make more money out of people, and it's not that effective to get signatures, so people throw more money into it, then that's, concerning. 38 Degrees website for petitioning will not let you sponsor a petition. Only they can choose what petitions get promoted, which I think is discrimination. I had a very long conversation with 38 Degrees. See, I nearly said Change.org then. I had a very long conversation with 38 Degrees on the telephone, very productive actually, for about an hour, explaining to them that it are the Tory party, since 38 Degrees had loads of newspaper promotion and went really big. Why is 38 Degrees not allowing people in Britain to have petitions sponsored and shown on their website to other people? And why is it only the staff that are picking and choosing certain petitions, which I think is bias, which will definitely then succeed or fail, and others, won't get any attention at all? I don't think it's fair. It's not fair. Now, I think that the government or someone is involved in pulling strings behind the scene with that, because one of the 38 Degrees staff got busted for cocaine use or something and they ousted him. I think that he was the person who probably was more liberal and wanted the platform to be run fairly because, he's a more liberal person. And he got removed. The government acted or someone acted to remove him from the platform. New people took over. And now the site, I think, is obstructive to getting your petitions promoted through 38 Degrees by paying for promotion, because they're just picking and choosing, Someone could fire an email backwards and forwards between staff, and the Tory Anonymous could fire an email from one 30-degree staff to another, and then say, "Oh, we're going to promote this petition," and then they stick it on the website and promote it, and it happens to be one that the Tories want to support. So we're up to us eyeballs in Tory corruption. The Tory version of Anonymous out there, the way they run it is very unfair. And then we know it's the Tories. Why? Who's the one who's messing around with a petition and taking signatures off, possibly? Well, let me guess. Who's the person who's now changed it since Labour were in government and now saying, we don't have to even debate a petition if we don't want to? That's a big, bold move. So might it not be the same people behind it who said that and did that as who might be dicking around with the signatures? It well could be. Who's got the same goal and motivation? Oh, it's Boris Johnson. Who's got the same goal and motivation where they don't want us to be able to complain through a complaints process, which is bringing a case to that council through the complaints process. Oh, what's the word for complaint? Petition. With as many people giving evidence as needed, or as many people as they want to sign the complaint. Oh, you can't petition about complaining against MPs. Really? What's the complaint then? Well, it's a petition, it's bringing a case, Well, we don't want you to do that. Well, I'm not surprised, because then, half of your ministers will be ejected from government, which, like, we've just done that anyway now with the Tories. This is the thing. It's not a... Boris is a liar. That's why he's been removed. This is the problem. This is why we need governments who are honest and who don't cheat, And this is what we're trying to do. And as we're doing it, we're finding that, they're wanting Elon Musk to bring in mind control and brain control added to the advertisement influencer marketing they're already using to control us. It's like the lottery, I'll give you money to charity, give you money to the lottery. And then you've got no more, all that money that people could have been given to Camelot for the government department to decide where the lottery money goes to, who they're going to help out. People could have been, I've spent, how much money do you spend on the lottery in a year? You could have spent, I don't know, you might have spent £1,000 on a lottery in a year if you play it a lot. Or you might have spent £500 in a year if you play it a lot. That money, you could have, instead of giving it to the government to decide what to give it to, you could have, used it to, what do you want to do in your local area? Not just help charities. Somebody might be ruining the area, which you might want to protect it. Is that not a worthy cause to give you money to put 400 quid into, then you're actually protecting your area for the rest of your life, rather than giving it, spending it on national lottery, giving it to the government, who are giving it to random charities, at the end of the day, a good cause is only something that's good to certain people or to yourself or to other people or whoever, Isn't it a good cause to do something to help the people of your area, your neighbourhood? That's a good cause for, I'm going to help some people in my area. Giving to Kirkwood Hospice is helping the people in our area, but I might not give it to Kirkwood Hospice, What about all the people in the area, who, and then again, if we weren't all playing the lottery, we might all have extra money anyway to help people ourselves in the area, You might be able to, if someone in the area hasn't got food, you don't necessarily have to go to a food bank, You could go take it down to the local pub or whatever, You could donate money to the local pub, so the pub can feed them. If there are people who can't be fed in the area, they put a library in our pub down the road. They went and put the local library in the pub down the road because the council shut the local library down, so it's in the pub, right? Now all these food banks, why don't we all just give money to the local pub? I'll give the local pub £5, a week to feed people who are starving. But then what the pub does is spend all the money on putting horrible security gates on there, because someone's going to break in. Why are they going to break in? Probably because they're poor and starving. But if you give the pub money to feed them all, then they won't be going into the pub to nick anything or break in. They'll be going into the pub to be fed because we paid for them to be fed. How about giving that to the landlord? Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Why don't we all give the pub set up a charity to feed local homeless people all day. You know, isn't that a free house, a public house? But no, the landlord wants to bang security gates on there and cameras and not let anyone in. You know, that's the problem, and make it look like Alcatraz. And then it happens to be the most beautiful building in the village, but it blocks off visual access to it because someone next door has been complaining about the noise from the kids or whatever, you know. And then the next thing, so the kids have got to move to another area of the pub where they might run out onto the road because the parents can't watch them all the time because they're busy getting drunk, intoxicated, you know. Why don't we all give the pub money so it can get more people intoxicated all day? So then, you know, so then people are drunk most of the time and not in a fit state to look after the kids. You know, how about that idea? This is the thing. You know, we've got good ideas and stupid ideas. You know, this is the thing. People complain. You know, we could have all bought. You know, why not all buy how much did the security gate cost at the pub, which looks like Alcatraz? You know, how much did it cost? £1,000, £1,500, £2,000. We could have bought the people next door to the pub soundproofing for their house, maybe for £1,500. Then they wouldn't have been annoyed by the noise of the kids in the other backyard of the pub. We're safer, and then they didn't have to listen to all the noise all the time. You know, how about that one?